What's up, guys? It's Clint Coons here, and in this video, we're going to discuss whether or not a land trust provides asset protection. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so what is it about a land trust that attracts real estate investors to this particular tool? Well, obviously, if you've gone out there, you've done any research, or if you watched several of my other videos on my channel regarding land trusts, you know that it can be very effective when it comes to transferring real estate from yourself to other business entities, so you don't alert lenders the fact that a property's been transferred. It allows you to move assets out of LLCs without incurring any additional tax liability if there's transfer taxes. So there's many tax and privacy reasons why people use land trusts. But there's also an assumption made, and that is that by using a land trust, you're going to have asset protection. And this is where I see a lot of real estate investors make a mistake. They hear about this great tool, and there's a lot of people actually tout it as offering asset protection, and they just take that initial step, set up a land trust, put their property into it, and they believe that they are protected. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to pull back the curtain here because land trusts themselves do not offer, that is right, do not offer asset protection in the real sense. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is that if you set up a land trust right here, here's my land trust, and as you know, in a land trust, you're going to be the beneficiary and you're going to have a trustee that's involved with this trust. And if you put property into your land trust, and so you deed it into the trust, and something were to go wrong with that a tenant slips and falls and they're going to sue, well, who do they sue? They're going to sue the property owner. And if the property owner happens to be the land trust that you set up and it's entitled to property, then they sue this trust. And the trust itself, it is a grantor trust. So what that means is that in this particular type of grantor trust, there's zero asset protection. So they will sue the trust, and this actually happened to a client of mine. They sued the trust, and through the discovery process, they found out that my client was the beneficiary of the trust. And see, my client set up this trust on their own, and they transferred the real estate into it. They remained the beneficiary on the trust. So what happened was they turned around and they added my client in as a co-defendant in the case. So basically they were suing both the trust and the beneficiary of the trust in that lawsuit. Why? Because there's no asset protection with this self-settled trust, because that's essentially what a land trust is. It's a self-settled trust. You set the trust up, you put assets into it, you're the beneficiary of the trust. So if you want self-settled trust, watch my videos on asset protection trust, and I'll explain how that works. But in this particular case, you're not going to have asset protection here. Now, there is a limited exception to this, and that has to do with Florida. In Florida, they have a statute that provides asset protection for beneficiaries. So if something were to happen here where the trust gets sued, if you're a beneficiary of a Florida land trust owning Florida real estate, well, you're protected. Now, that's the only state that has this type of protection is Florida. Now, the other thing about land trusts that you should be aware of is that, let's assume the lawsuit doesn't originate on the inside, it originates on the outside. You're driving your car and you run someone over with your car and they turn around and they sue you. I know, easy example to use. I'll give you a better one. Let's say that you default on a lease and then the lessor comes after you for the deficiency that's remaining on that lease term. They get a judgment against you for $300,000. They bring you into supplemental proceedings. What do they get? Well, they get whatever they can attach. And if you have to disclose, which you would, your assets, which would be a beneficial interest in a land trust, well, they're going to move against that. They're going to go after and they'll take your beneficial interest. That's what I mean by it doesn't offer asset protection. Now, this particular situation, that occurs nationwide. Florida doesn't give us any exemption there. In Florida, their law is only inside out, not outside in. So land trusts by their very nature are what we call title holding vehicles. They are not asset protection vehicles. However, sometimes we may use the term asset protection when referring to a land trust because there are certain ways to achieve different types of asset protection. Mainly this, with a land trust, you can set this thing up with anonymity, meaning you can create a trust where your name won't appear on the filing, that is the deed filing where you're transferring property in, because you're using a nominee trustee. And that could be someone like myself. Say we had Clint up there. I'm the trustee of your land trust. You transfer title into the name of this trust. It's going to come into my name as trustee. Now, before you freak out and say, well, I wouldn't want to do that, I've got other videos discussing this. Check out my channel. You'll see where I talk about who can be a land trust trustee and how it works out. But the point is that when you do that, title no longer is vested in your name. It's vested in a trustee for this trust so your name doesn't appear on title. The other thing you could do is use a limited liability company that you set up, say in Wyoming. So again, they would see the LLC name, they don't see your name. And that's the whole idea here, is by having anonymity, people don't see through to you. And by not seeing you, you decrease the likelihood that someone wants to come after you because they think you're a deep pocket defendant. Now, the other aspect about land trusts, if you want anonymity, which I would assume you do, and that's why you're watching this video and you subscribe to my channel. Oh, by the way, if you haven't, make sure you are, so you get other video or notifications of other videos like this when they come out. So here's the thing. If I want asset protection for my land trust, I need to take an additional step. And the way we accomplish that is through the use of limited liability companies or other forms of entities that provide asset protection. And the way that works is that when you set up your trust, when you're the initial beneficiary, you then turn around and you assign your interest to the LLC. So we transfer our interest to the LLC, of which we are a member of this LLC, possibly you're a manager of your limited liability company. But it goes back to this, that if somebody sues now, they're going to sue the trust, and in turn, they'll come after the LLC. Who's not involved in that case? It's you personally. And that's what we're trying to accomplish, right? We don't want your property to drag you into a lawsuit, put all your assets at risk, personal assets, because of something that happened with the tenant on a particular piece of real estate that you own. Now, on the converse side, that was inside out. What about that outside in problem we talked about with the car accident or the lease? Well, here you're going to rely on your limited liability company charging order protections. Again, search that across my channel if you want to learn more about charging order protections. It's a great asset protection benefit of setting up an LLC, provided you set it up in the right state. That is key when it comes to protecting your investment. So then you're protected here. They can't get up through the LLC and into your land trust. So land trusts, they do have a purpose. They provide a certain aspect of asset protection. It depends on how you look at it, but not in the common context that most people think that, hey, I put my property in the trust, I have to do nothing more. If somebody sues me, I'm protected. It doesn't work that way. What we're looking at is anonymity. Maybe it's in Florida, or the last one is make sure you're using a limited liability company as your trust beneficiary. Guys, you like the video, make sure you hit the like button and be sure to stay tuned because I got a lot more content coming out that will help you with your real estate investing from a tax and asset protection standpoint. Take care.